Whip things up again tonight.
Those winds creating an epic cloud of smoke that towered over Missoula and the northern Bitterroot.
And with fire danger, the Sheriff's Department calling for new evacuations tonight.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
More extreme fire behavior on the LOLO Peak fire as strong winds, warm temperatures, and low humidity combined to fan the blaze, which has already burned upward of 20,000 acres, much of it in the past couple of days. Those winds raked across the fire zone, creating numerous pyrocumulus clouds, at one point soaring 27,000 feet above the northern Bitterroot. That uplift in the winds were carrying burnt and even burning debris to the east as firefighters worked to reinforce the control lines, which were built weeks ago in anticipation of this kind of weather.
And we have new video that gives us a dramatic view of the LOLO Peak fire, and this is what firefighters are worried about tonight as the winds could roar through those canyons at gusts that could hit 40 miles per hour. Sustained winds in the area are already kicking up fire activity with the potential to start spot fires, which is a fear tonight, and that is part of the reason law enforcement closed portions of Highway 12. Good evening, I'm Jill Valley.
And I'm Dennis Bragg. Firefighting planes working on the LOLO Peak fire were grounded this afternoon after crews spotted a drone in the area around 3 o'clock. We spoke with Public Information Officer Mike Cole, who says those slurry bombers and planes can't fly when a drone is in their airspace. Now,
the planes were working towards their last runs because the visibility was getting so bad because it all kicked up this afternoon. It didn't greatly interfere with firefighting efforts this time. Cole says he's reminding everyone drones are not allowed in the area. You could interfere with their ability to save lives and homes. And we certainly don't want to see that. The Missoula County Sheriff's Office has issued new mandatory evacuations for the Sleeman Creek area along Highway 12 due to the LOLO Peak fire. That impacts 60 to 65 homes. The Stella Blue subdivision is currently under an evacuation warning. Highway 12 is closed a couple of miles west of LOLO tonight to through traffic all the way to Graves Creek. The fire is very active along the highway, and there is some potential for the fire to cross the highway, although it has not yet at this hour. Officials are advising drivers to stay off Highway 93 unless absolutely necessary. The Ravalli County Sheriff's Office issued evacuation orders early today for residents of Florence-Carlton Loop from Holloway Lane to Ty Chute Lane. Mandatory evacuation orders, as you can see on the map here, already in place in the red areas there west of Highway 93 from the north side of Ty Chute Lane north all the way to the Missoula County line. And evacuations remain in place along Highway 12 on the map here, again in red. Those evacuation warnings are west of Highway 93 and east of Florence-Carlton Loop, and again south to Bass Creek Road, but that map shows it all right there. Ravalli County Sheriff Steve Holden says an evacuation information center is up in Florence now and operating. Evacuees are asked to provide their contact information at the Ravalli County Search and Rescue Command van parked in Florence Farmer State Bank parking lot. Fire information can be found by calling 272-5433, and because of that extreme fire danger, Old Highway 93 is closed all the way from the intersection of Long Lane in Florence north through Missoula County. The Missoula County Sheriff's Office reports 2 homes in the upper Folsom Ridge road area off of the highway were burned in the fire overnight. The homes were a total loss, and multiple outbuildings in the area also burned. The 2 affected homeowners who had evacuated have been notified of the loss. Meanwhile, authorities issuing a warning. Old Highway 93 for Rowan Road to Long Avenue in Florence closed for to the public for firefighters. Law enforcement officers are patrolling all those areas. Anyone caught trespassing could face criminal charges. Now, unfortunately, we have dangerous fire weather in the forecast through tonight. More on those red flag warnings. Russ Thomas has been tracking it all afternoon and into the evening. He's got details.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about the wind in the canyons Jill mentioned earlier and kind of the effect, what's happening right now, what we're expecting this evening, and of course overnight tonight. We take a look at these fires, and again, this is kind of an example here, a broad example of where some of these fires are located. You've got west winds coming 15 to 30 miles per hour expected again throughout the overnight hours at times. Not going to be that windy the entirety of this period, but it doesn't need to be. Again, this is the what we're looking at here in terms of potential for danger, what this wind does cause, and again, rolling through those canyons, especially in the Bitterroot Valley around LOLO. We'll have more coming up in just a few minutes.
There's been a robust response from emergency crews with this LOLO Peak fire as they race to make sure people stay safe.
You were out there tonight. You could see those engines just being staged everywhere, all of these points of problems. The real problem has been smoke, especially on that Highway 12 corridor. That's one of the reasons they closed it down. And as MTN's Eric Clemens reports, things could get worse before they get better.
The fire is active on all fronts right now.
Firefighters and law enforcement officers say they were expecting high winds to kick up massive plumes of smoke along the LOLO Peak fire. The smoke cascading off the LOLO Peak fire has effectively blotted out the sun, creating a scene that some describe as apocalyptic. In addition to that low visibility, ash has been raining down, with some pieces about 1.5 to 2 inches long. That smoke and ash is one reason the Missoula County Sheriff's Department closed a large portion of Highway 12.
It's a real hazard. Sometimes it can get so dense that it's worse than driving at night. So we don't want to have any accidents. We also have it open for fire traffic to get in there as fast as they can.
The massive clouds of smoke boiling off the mountain is a sight to behold, drawing in large crowds all across Highway 93 South. However, that onslaught of onlookers is hindering crews' ability to respond swiftly.
Last night, we did unfortunately lose 2 residences, and what the public needs to know is that the firefighters' efforts were impeded by looky-loos traveling down Highway 93, filling the parking lot. We had approximately 30 fire engines that could not get up the hill that were designated for structure protection, and due to just curiosity, it cost us about 25 to 30 minutes. Deputies had to respond and unclog that traffic jam. We had the help of Highway Patrol. Lots going on, but if you don't need to be there, please just respect those that are laboring to save residents and homes, and stay out of the area.
The Missoula County Sheriff's Department urges all residents to remain diligent and to be prepared for anything. In Lolo, Eric Clements, MTN News.
Now, of course, this battle will continue right through the weekend.
MTN's Lauren Heiser was on the front lines of the LOLO Peak fire today and has more on just what they're doing to try to fight this massive blaze.
The smoke grows thicker as you head towards the containment line dug by firefighters. As we drove, in some spots you can even see it hanging over the city below. The line itself was dug by a bulldozer and is about 4 feet across.
We build that dozer lines around the edge of the fire here in places that we think we can hold the fire. And we look at the weather forecast like we knew yesterday. We knew today's red flag warning was coming. So our plan was to bring fire down the ski slope, down the north edge of the ski slope, and hold it there, and then bring the dozer line along the front all the way from Division Foxtrot and Division Hotel here to try and contain the edge of the fire.
You can easily see where firefighters have created a black line by burning fuels on the side closest to the fire. Firefighters on all sides of the fire work continuously to reinforce and defend the line. There were spot fires in the grass where the fire had already burned, but firefighters worked quickly and had those under control. Despite the harsh conditions, the firefighters I spoke with were determined to keep fighting to make sure that no one else would lose their homes. In Lolo, I'm Lauren Heiser with MTN News.
And understanding this could be a very tricky weekend for homeowners and firefighters, we will continue to cover this fire online, on air for you throughout the weekend and as conditions change. There's also a fire, the Sprague Fire. It's burning along the eastern side of Lake McDonald on the Gunsight Trail in Glacier National Park. It is about 500 acres tonight. Fire officials think it's going to continue to grow. Now, where it's burning is very steep and rocky. It's nearly impossible for firefighters to get there on the ground, but it's in an area with a lot of dry fuels waiting to be burned. Lower humidity and stronger winds are in the forecast. Public Information Officer Katie Limming says the main goal for crews is to prevent the fire from going west. The trail from Lake McDonald to Gunsight Pass is currently closed. You need to check with the park's website for the latest on trail and campground closures.
Now, outside of fire news tonight, a very important crime story. Police are investigating a possible homicide that happened in a Missoula neighborhood, and 2 people are in custody. MTN's Don Fisher has been following the story all day, and he has the latest.
They discovered evidence of a possible homicide, leading to this investigation. Sergeant Travis Welsh of the Missoula Police Department says the warrant was presented to the residents in conjunction with the reported home invasion, burglary, and stabbing that happened in late July. Upon entry, officers discovered evidence of other crimes, including homicide. Strand Avenue resident Megan Husengay witnessed the incident.
We seen a SWAT team roll down Johnson with a police officer behind it, and I was able to get my girls inside. They went over to this house over here and said they had a search warrant and busted in the door.
2 individuals have been taken into custody as the investigation continues. They identified as 23-year-old Tiffany Pierce and 26-year-old Augustus Standing Rock. The victim's identity has not been released. Huizenga says this is just another example of a neighborhood seeing more and more crime.
Unfortunately, this neighborhood, you can walk or drive down the street and see needles just everywhere. My daughter went to Franklin Park the other day and there was a needle in the park. So this neighborhood is kind of going downhill. Unfortunately, grew up here my whole life.
In Missoula, Don Fisher, MTN News.
Police aren't releasing any more information, but both are expected to make their initial appearances Monday and will continue to follow this case. Still ahead, Russ has the latest on this critical fire weather as the red flag warnings continue.
We'll take a closer look at our fire outlook expected for the weekend. Important details still ahead here on MTN.